Good evening. This is the 8-hour workday with Rex Haymarket, where every crisis somehow becomes your bill and their bonus. And tonight we need to talk about the future of work, not the version they sell at tech conferences, not the version with smiling executives, frictionless productivity, and artificial intelligence gently freeing humanity from boring tasks. No, the real future of work. The one where the company gets the productivity, the shareholder gets the upside, the worker gets the severance packet, and the people left behind get told to do more with less. Because this week gave us two stories that look separate, but they are not separate. One story is about AI replacing labor. Cisco announced it would cut nearly 4,000 jobs while shifting investment toward artificial intelligence, security, silicon, optics, and other high-growth areas. At the same time, the company reported strong revenue, raised its full-year forecast, and saw major demand for AI infrastructure. So this is not the old story of a company collapsing and workers being sacrificed to save it. This is the new story. The company can be doing fine, the orders can be coming in, the AI future can look bright, the stock can cheer, and the worker can still be deleted from the spreadsheet. That is the first half of the story. The second half is overtime. The US Labor Department formally repealed the Biden-era overtime rule that would have expanded overtime protections to roughly 4 million salaried workers. That rule would have required overtime pay for many salaried workers making under about $58,600 a year. Now the older threshold, around $35,500, is back. And that sounds technical. It is not. That is the line between paid time and free time. That is the line between a 40-hour job and a 55-hour job wearing a nicer title. That is the line between compensation and extraction. Because if you are hourly, the 41st hour usually costs more. Time and a half, that is the whole point. The law is supposed to make employers think twice before eating your life. But if you are salaried and classified as exempt, the math changes. 45 hours, 50 hours, 55 hours, same paycheck, no time and a half, no extra compensation, just the quiet miracle of unpaid labor hidden behind words like assistant manager, team lead, supervisor, coordinator, or professional. One sounds middle class, the other is a discount labor contract with better email etiquette. And that is why these two stories belong together, because workers are being squeezed from both ends. On one end, AI is being used to justify layoffs, restructuring, and smaller payrolls. On the other end, overtime protections are being weakened, making it easier to stretch the workers who remain. So the future of work may not be machines doing the labor while humans live better lives. It may be fewer workers, longer hours, weaker protections, and more profit extracted from everyone left standing. Now this is where the history matters. This channel is called the 8-hour workday for a reason. Because Haymarket was not just some dusty labor history footnote. In 1886, workers were fighting for the 8-hour day. 8 hours for work. 8 hours for rest. 8 hours for what we will. That was the demand. 8 hours for work. 8 hours for rest. 8 hours for what we will. That was the demand, not a perk, not a wellness program, not a corporate culture initiative, a demand. In Chicago, the struggle led to Haymarket Square. A rally, a bomb, gunfire, trials, executions, and a labor movement that was told very clearly what happens when workers ask for time back. Haymarket became one of the great symbols of the international labor movement because it exposed the central conflict. Capital wants time, workers want life. That was true in 1886, and it is true now. Only the machinery has changed. The old boss wanted 10 or 12 hours from your body. The new boss wants your job automated, your overtime erased, and your productivity converted into shareholder value. The old factory had a whistle. The company calls it transformation. The worker calls it Tuesday night at 9:47, still answering emails. That is the question every AI story should be forced to answer. Because if artificial intelligence makes workers more productive, there are multiple futures available. A society that actually cared about human beings could say, if technology saves time, then people should get some of that time back. But that is not the automatic outcome, because technology does not decide who benefits from productivity. Power does, ownership does, labor law does, union density does, bargaining power does. If AI can replace you, you are gone. If AI cannot replace you yet, it may be used to monitor you, speed you up, or make you responsible for more work. And if you are salaried enough to look respectable but not powerful enough to negotiate, congratulations. The clock may keep running after 40 hours, but the paycheck does not. That is not innovation, that is extraction with better software. And the cruel joke is that the whole sales pitch around AI is that it saves time. But for whom? But for whom? If one worker can now do the work of 3 and the company fires 2, overloads 1 and sends the savings upstairs, did technology free anyone? Or did it just make the payroll smaller? If productivity rises but wages do not, where did the productivity go? If the workday gets longer but the salary stays flat, who took the difference? If the future gets more efficient but workers get more precarious, whose future is it? That is the economic mechanism underneath the headline. AI weakens labor demand. Weaker overtime rules weaken time protections. Lower bargaining power weakens wages. And the result is a labor market where workers are told they must constantly adapt, constantly reskill, constantly produce more, and constantly be grateful for the chance to remain employed. The company calls it transformation, the worker calls it Tuesday night at 9:47, still answering emails. This is why the Haymarket frame matters. That life should have a claim. That the employer does not own the entire day simply because the worker needs a paycheck. And now that boundary is being attacked again. Not always with police clubs, not always with strike breakers, sometimes with software, sometimes with a job title, sometimes with an exemption category, sometimes with a cheerful memo about focusing on high-growth areas. Sometimes with a cheerful memo about focusing on high-growth areas. The language is cleaner now, the economics are not. Because the old fight was 8 hours versus 12. The new fight is paid hours versus invisible hours. Human labor versus automated labor. Productivity gains versus wage gains. And whether the future of work belongs to workers or to the people who own the machines. Not whether the chatbot can make a logo, not whether the demo looks impressive. The real question is whether technology will reduce the burden of work or reduce the bargaining power of workers. Because those are not the same thing. One is progress, the other is just a layoff wearing a headset. So when executives tell you AI will make the economy more productive, believe them, it probably will. But then ask the question they hope you forget. Productive for whom? For the worker who gets shorter hours, for the salaried manager who finally gets paid for the 51st hour, for the household trying to make rent? That is where the future will be decided. Not by the technology alone, but by the rules around it, by who owns it, by who controls it, by who gets paid when it works, and by whether workers have enough power to demand that productivity becomes a better life, not just a better margin. The promise of technology could have been simple. Less drudgery, shorter hours, more freedom, more time. But without worker power, the promise changes. Less payroll, longer hours, more surveillance, more burnout. And a workplace where the machine does not liberate the worker. It disciplines them. In 2026, we are being asked a new version of the same question. If AI can do more of the work, who gets the benefit? If the law protects less of your time, who gets the extra hours? And if every productivity miracle somehow ends with fewer workers, longer hours, and richer shareholders, maybe the miracle was never meant for you. The future of work is not automatically better. It has to be fought for. The 8-hour day was not gifted from above. It was organized, it was demanded, it was bled for. And mind who profits when they tell you the future has arrived. Like and subscribe and click the next video on the screen.